Okay, the first thing we're going to take a look at is learning the notes on the fingerboard. I'm always amazed from my years of teaching at how many musicians aren't actually aware of the names of the notes, and you can say to someone, we're playing in the key of B flat, and they go, where's that? It's very important for you to be able to find notes for location of chords and also to be able to move scales around. To me, music is a language, and to be able to speak the language properly, you need to understand it, you need to be able to get inside it. Also, from an improviser's point of view, when I'm faced with playing over a specific chord, I want to know what the notes are within that chord and what other notes I can play to extend the sound of the harmony, and how the notes that I play will affect the sound of the chord. So it's a very, very important topic, even though it's a very basic topic. Now, a lot of people tend to learn notes on the bottom E string and then on the A string, and this is for the purpose of playing such chords as this. If we play a basic G major chord, we need to know that that is the G note to be able to, form the chord. That's its root note, and then be able to move it around. That's a very, very common chord shape. Another common chord shape is the A chord shape with its root note situated on the A string. So a lot of people learn the notes on that string. One thing that I've noticed from, again from teaching, is that people tend to do things rather randomly and in a slightly chaotic fashion. And it's important to sort of organise the fingerboard and organise your practice time as well. You know, imagine tucking into your dinner. You're not going to stuff the whole lot into your face at once. You're going to take small little bite-sized chunks away at a time and hopefully chew it and digest it. And that's how I like to look at learning any new pieces of information on the guitar. I'm not going to sit down and go, right, I'm going to learn all the notes on the neck and sit there and play every single note on every single string. By the time I get to the 22nd fret of the top E string, I'm going to not have a clue what's going on in any of the other strings. So the way that I approached this and the way that I was taught this was to focus in to start with on the lowest fretted note on the guitar. Now that's going to be situated at the first fret of the bottom E string, and that's the note of F. Now hopefully we know that we have two E notes on the guitar, our 6th string and our 1st string. So straight away I have two F notes within that same fret, that same position. Now my little formula means that if I play 2 frets higher on the D string, I get the same note. Although it's at a different pitch, it's an octave higher, and then 2 frets back on the top E is another octave higher. So within that 3 fret area, I'm able to find the note of F. Now you notice that I'm playing it with my 1st finger. I've changed position, so my 1st finger's now at the 3rd fret. So if I start that as my new position, this means that 3 frets higher on the B string, I have another F note. Now if I change position again, start with my 1st finger, 2 frets higher on the A string, I'll have an octave lower. So there's another F note. Change position again so that my 1st finger plays that note, 8th fret of the A. 2 frets higher on the G string, I have an octave higher of the same note. Change position again so that my 1st finger's now on the G string, and I have the same note again. 3 frets higher, I have the 13th fret, bottom and top E, which is exactly the same as the 1st fret, but an octave higher, so everything then starts again. So my little formula is basically if I'm on the bottom E string, I have the same note on the top E, 2 frets higher on the D string, then from the D string, 3 frets higher on the B string, from the B string, 2 frets higher on the A string, from the A string, 2 frets higher on the G string, and then from the G string, 3 frets higher on the top and the bottom E string, and then everything starts again. So what you should be able to do now is take the F note, and move around the neck, locating every single F note possible. Now, when I'm looking at those notes, I do actually view them around chord shapes, which we'll talk about in a moment, which are in fact the caged chord shapes. Once you've learnt the F note, then it might be an idea to move through all of the keys. And something that I use to practice playing in various keys is what's known as a key cycle. And there's a couple that you can work from, either a cycle of fourths or a cycle of fifths. I've always worked in cycles of fourths. That's the way that I was taught. So it's become second nature to me. What I mean by working in a cycle of fourths is that if I start from, say, the C note, and I play 4 scale notes up from the C note, do, re, mi, fa, or 1, 2, 3, 4, that is a fourth interval. So a fourth above C is the note of F. Now if I treat F as my new root and play a fourth above that, I have B flat. So B flat is a fourth above F. If I start from B flat, go up a fourth, have E flat. So E flat is a fourth above B flat. From E flat, we have A flat. From A flat, we have D flat, and so on. You're basically just working through fourths apart. So the little exercise that we should try, maybe start on the C note, 1st fret of the B string, 3rd fret A, 5th fret D, 5th fret G, 8th fret bottom and top E, 10th fret D, 13th fret B, 15th fret A, 17th fret G, 20th fret top and bottom E, 22nd fret D string. There's all your C notes. So then what I do is move a fourth above C and play F. So here's all my F notes. A fourth above F gives me B flat. Fourth above B flat is E flat. Now we have A flat. Okay, now we have D flat. So probably actually, start from here. Okay, from D flat, we now have the note of G flat. So now the note of B, we can actually start with an open B if we want. E. A. D. And now G. Okay, in that very, very short demonstration, I've actually managed to play every single note on my guitar, which is pretty good. It's quite an achievement to be able to run through every single note in that fashion. The guitar is a particularly difficult instrument to play because of the fact that we can play the same note in so many different positions. You know, I can play the note of C there on the 1st fret of the B, but I can also achieve the same pitch there on the 5th fret of the G string. I can also achieve the same pitch on the 10th fret of the A string and on the 10th fret of the D string, now the 15th fret of the A string, and now way up here on the 20th fret. The 20th fret of the bottom E is exactly the same pitch as the 1st fret of the B string. So you can see that there are a lot of options for you in terms of how you can play a run. You could start from here, or from here, or can see that I can just keep going and going and going. So that's why sometimes the guitar can be very, very difficult instrument to play. Obviously, if you're playing a piano, C is there. You can't play that pitch anywhere else. But this also opens up many doors for us because we can get, as I mentioned in our introduction, the fact that we can play wide intervals and skip around the fingerboard. We can also, the tone of certain strings is very different. If I was playing say a blues lick, I wouldn't use the 5th fret of the top E as my final note. I'd probably play it there on the 10th fret of the B string. It's a much nicer tone. Or even better, the G string at the 14th fret. I know it's a bit of a jump, whereas the A note's there, but compare the tone. That's a much warmer sounding note. A little exercise that you can put into practice is maybe take a few of your basic blues licks or a few little picking exercises and then try playing them in as many positions as you can. Obviously keeping the same notes and the same pitch. Even work on, using ridiculously wide stretches or string jumps or something to achieve the same thing. All that it's going to do ultimately is just open up the fingerboard for you and give you a much greater knowledge of the fretboard. Okay, that pretty much concludes our section on note finding. Like I said, just spend a little bit of time, make sure that you follow the sequence, and as you're practicing through each note, say the note out loud and say the fret number out loud. If you find the kind of thought of doing all 12 keys at once a little bit daunting, every time you kick off a practice session, do 6. Then the next session, do the next 6, and so on. Rotate it. Remember what I said, take small chunks. Don't stuff everything at your mouth at once because you won't be able to digest it.